pretty much empty project. It doesn't have anything inside it. I'm gonna open the manifest file too. You see, it's a basic setup. The only thing that I've changed is linear layout. Let me run this project just to show you what all things I've added. And there you go, it's pretty much empty. So first thing, that as I mentioned to you, the thing that you need is go check if you have Google Play services installed. To do that, what you can do is you can go to your SDK manager directly here, go to SDK tools, and here if you see Google Play services is already installed in my computer, so I don't have to worry about that. So I have Google Play services installed. I can also launch the standalone SDK manager. If it's not installed, I can install it either from here, or I can install it directly from the Google Play services right here. I can install it from anywhere that I want. So once I have that, that's the first step, so that's good. Second step is permissions. So before doing that, I'll have to include that include in Gradle script saying that I want Google Play services be compiled with my project. So I'm just going to specify compile com.google.android.gms, and in there I'll say play services. Now every time when you assign this, you can give a version number, you can give star, or you can use just the version number that you know of. I think the last one that I used was 7.8.0, but it might have been upgraded. I'm just going to press sync now just so that it knows. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, the latest one is 8.4.0 that I have, so I'm going to just update to that 8.4.0. So that's the play services that I want to use. I want to be compiled with my product, so that's how I specify that. Once that is done, the second step is permissions. So let's go to Android manifest and add some permissions. Some of the permissions that I need for this particular application is, first is internet, because I'll have to check if user is connected to the internet. Without internet, you can't access Google's APIs. So that's first thing. Second thing that I need is access network state. So my application will try to access the network states to see if I can access Google Play services. And the last one is, every time it downloads maps, it needs to save the data into external storage. So that's something that I need. So I have access to all these three permissions. Next, as I mentioned, that you'll have to create your own permissions and access that inside the app. Now this permission belongs, so you have to give it name based on your app. So I'm going to give the name com dot Vivinarana dot maps app, and I'll give one more since it's a permission that I'm creating. Say permission maps receive. So this is a permission that will let my app receive permission from Google API, and just this app. And I will also say that the protection level on this is signature. So you can't no one else can actually use this API other than this permission other than my app itself. So it's based on the signature of the key that I create. The next permission that I need is the permission that I just created, which is this one. So I'm going to say this is how you create a permission, and this is how you use that permission inside the app. Another permission that I need is related to Google. So I am going to think something happened here. I didn't mean to type that. Com dot Google dot Android dot providers dot GSF dot permissions read G services. So this is for reading Google services. Now this will all fail because I have not yet done the next step, which is getting the API key and providing it inside my app. So for that reason it will fail right now, but this lets you read Google services. The app read the Google services from the server. The next thing that I need is also have to add one more thing, uses a particular feature. Now to use Google Maps, you need to have OpenGL in your device. The user needs to have OpenGL inside his device. Now here the version that you want is 2.2 and above. So if you want to write it in hex, it's usually 0 then followed by x 000 to 20,000. Okay, so that's the version that I want. And is it required? Yes, it is required. So without this, you can't have Google Play services or Google Maps running on your application, because Google Maps uses OpenGL. So if it's a cheap phone which doesn't have OpenGL, it will not install this particular app. So I'll have to specify that here using this. Now, next thing is getting our API key from Google. So to get the API key from Google, what you have to do is you have to go to your sol.developers.google.com/project. You might see a different screen which says welcoming screen, and you might see a create project in the center of it. I have created projects before, so that's why it's showing me a screen like this. I can go here and say I want to create a project and give it a name. Let's say I call it maps project and say create. It will create a maps project for me. It might take a few minutes or seconds to create this. Once I have that, it will display it here. Let me refresh this page to see if it's been created. So there you go, my project has been created. I can go into the dashboard of that particular project just by clicking on it. Once I'm there, I'll have to enable and manage some APIs. So for this particular project, I want Maps API available. And if you see, there are a bunch of different APIs available that you can use. I'm interested in Google Maps and for Android specifically. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to say enable the API. Once you enable the API, it will ask you to get your credentials. So you'll need an API key to access that. So this is how you create an API key. Which API are you using? So Google Maps API, Android API. So that's perfect. Next, where will you be calling it from? From web browser, web server, Android. I'm gonna call it from an Android app. So say Android. What credentials do I need? So then it says that you need to create an API key. How do you create an API? It says this is how what you'll have to run on your, you can read this part, but this is the command that you have to run on your key tool on your computer to get your SHA-1. So that's what you will be entering here, and it also needs your package name. So go back and let's get the package name. This is the package name, and now it says SHA-1 certificate fingerprint that you can get using this command. So I'm going to go to my terminal and I'll go to my Android folder, which is right here, and then run this key tool. Now, but let me check what is the key store name here that I have debug key store. So I'm going to copy this and say debug key store. You can just print out your options and see what is your, I don't have a password. It'll give me this option here. It will give me my SHA-1, and this is my computer's SHA-1. What this does is it lets me run Google Maps only on my computer and nobody else can use it. So even if you see the key here, it doesn't matter, it will not run on your computer using my key. So this is the key that I get. This is what I'll have to add inside my manifest. So I'm going to copy this and say done. Go back to my Android Studio, and right after the activity I will add something called as metadata tag and say name that I'm interested in is com.google.android.maps.version2.api key. So I'm specifying that this is the API key for this particular application, and the value of this is this. I just whatever I copied, I pasted it here. So that's my API key. Next thing that I'm going to do is also I need to specify that this application, this particular application that we have, okay, let's go back here, is going to use Play services. So I'm going to specify another metadata name com.google.android.gms dot version. So I'll have to specify what is the version of Play services that I'm going to use. Now, how do you specify the version? Now, different devices might have different Play services installed, so there's no way of figuring out what Play services, what version of Play services that they have. So you can just hard code it, or I mean you can just add this tag at the rate integer. This, what it does is it will get your Google Play service. So I can directly add this number, but it might be different for different devices, so that's why I'm just saying at the rate integer Google Play services version. So this will add the value to that. So this works perfectly fine. So I've added my permissions, I've added my maps, everything is, let's try to run it one time just to see if the app opens up still. And it does, I guess. Still building Gradle. So I'm just going to go ahead, close my terminal, I don't need it anymore, I don't need my browser. I'm going to close that. Let's go back. Still building. It might take a little bit time because I've added a lot of stuff inside the application metadata. I changed the manifest. I added some information inside the manifest for permissions. I have changed the Gradle, so it might take a little bit time to run this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead to the next step. So next step was, so I've added API key. Now next step is checking for play services, that does the device have play services or not. I have added play services from my side, but does the user who's running the application or on his device, does he have the play services? For that reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my main activity here, and I'm going to write a, is it running already? Yes, it's running, no problem at all. Here I'm going to create a public boolean, so it returns if Google Play services are available or not. Call this Google services available method. Inside this method, I will be using a class called as Google API availability. Give it a name API, and then I'm going to check Google. First of all, I'll get an instance of that Google API availability. So once I have that, trying to close this. Okay. So once I have the instance of that, I'm going to check if it's available. How do I, if Google Play service is available? So using this API, I'm going to check is Google Play services available. It needs the context. So this will tell me if this is available is actually an integer. It will return me three values, three different, it can be any of these three values. One thing is successful, it's there, everything is good, no problem at all. So that's, if that is the case, if is available equal to, I'll use something called as connection result dot success, just to check if it was able to connect to that and then get successful result. Then I'll just say return true, everything is good. What are the other two cases? Now the other two cases is it failed, that's one case, so it's success, and the second one is failure. And another case is user resolvable error. So that is something where user doesn't have Google Play services installed but can get to that, can install it using like sending the user to Google's let's say Play Store and then installing Google Play services. So the device is capable of installing it, or maybe something happened which it can fix. So that's another condition that we'll have to check. I'm going to check else if API dot is user resolvable error, is this error resolvable, can this be fixed? And for that, if it can be fixed, then I'm just going to use the dialog that is provided by that API get error dialog, and this needs three parameters. One is the context, the second is the error code, and the third one is the request code. I'm just going to set it to 0 for now, and then just say dialog dot show. And last part is, so this will show a dialog saying that okay, you can recover, install the latest version and take it to the Google Play Store and then install it. But if your device has the latest version, you don't have to worry about anything. The last part is just say probably toast dot make text context can't connect to play services, and toast dot length long dot show. So this will just say nothing. So if it goes through the entire thing and still not returned anything, I'll just say return false. So this false applies to both these else's. That means play services was not found and it's going to do something else, show the dialog or just say not available. Now this is something that I'll have to probably call from here. So just going to say if Google services available, then make a toast and say perfect. Let's run this and see what happens inside our simulator, if it's available or not. I have actually installed Google Play services on my device before, so it should say perfect. Now next thing, I'll need to create an object for Google Maps to display maps on our app. till now we've just done all the setup part, just we have never seen a map in action. So I'm going to go here. I can actually go in my design and then add a fragment, and it'll say which fragment do you want. I can pick a map fragment right here and say okay, and it will add a map fragment. Oh, I didn't specify where. Right there, make it full screen. So I have my map fragment match parent. The name should be this, perfect, and the ID is, let's call it map fragment. So I have a map fragment available here. Now to access this map fragment, first of all, let's create a Google. It's called a Google. Try to Google Map object. Google Map. Call it M, or just call it Google Map. I like to give it as a member, so I'm going to just say M Google Map. Once I have that, next thing, first of all, let's check if Google Play Services is available right here. So we check that. Once I have that, I can set the context view, because what if the Google Map service is not available and it's trying to display the map? It will probably crash your application. So you can create another set content view, something else where it says shows an error saying Google Maps is not supported or something like that. Here inside the else, no Google Maps layout, probably another layout that just displays it. But if it's supported, we will be showing the user this fragment over there. So that's the first step. Next step I want to do is, since it's available, I'm going to call a init map function, which I'll have to implement myself. Create method init map. Inside this init map, I'm going to get the map fragment equal to get fragment. Now if you remember from fragments class, to get access to fragment, you'll say get fragment manager dot find fragment by id r dot id dot, we gave it the name map fragment. That's what I'm going to access. Of course I'll have to cast it to map fragment. Once I have that, I'm going to say map fragment dot get async, or get map async, and it needs to tell me where is the callback. So what it does is it tries to get the map details and then give me the map object using get map async. In the previous versions we used to use just get map method, which would directly get you the map, but now they try to load the map asynchronously. So you'll have to specify, once it loads the map, who should it call. So I'm just gonna say main activity is pretty good, and then it will have to implement one method which is on maps ready. So when on maps are ready, I can actually assign it to this particular object that I have created. Now to do that, all you have to do is m Google Map equal to Google Map. So because on map ready will give that Google Map object. So this will take its time and then call this and then assign it to this. That's how you do it. Now let's run this and let's see if we actually see maps being displayed on our application. So once I run this, it's no warnings, no errors, perfect. And there you go. Our maps are displayed and probably assigned to our M Google Map object. Once I have that, I also want to, if you see the map, the default map points into 0,0 latitude longitude. So that's right here below Africa, right here. That's where 0 latitude and 0 longitude stands. So that's why it's centered along to that particular region. I'll try to open a browser. Let's create a browser and then let me get it to my other screen. So in here, now how do you get latitude and longitude of any point? So what you can do is you can go to maps.google.com, go to any location. Let's say I want to go to Greenbelt, and that's the entire Greenbelt region. Now we can specify that I want to see a particular region here. There's Lakeside, there is, let's say I just want Ivy Lane. So I'm just going to right click here and say what's here. When you say what's here, if you see the latitude longitude is displayed over there. Also the latitude longitude is displayed on the top, but I'm going to take this latitude and longitude, go back to my application, and right after this I'm going to say go to location this latitude, this longitude. Now this doesn't exist, this method. I'm going to say method go to location, and it takes two values, double value 1, which is latitude, and the second one is longitude. Now how do I center the map to this latitude and longitude? So first of all, I'm going to create a lat long object, ll equal to new lat long, and it needs two objects, one is lat and one is long, which I already have. So I'll pass it to this, so I have lat long. Once I have that, I'm going to use the Google Map object, hem Google Map, to move the camera to a particular camera update. It needs a camera update object, so I'm going to create a camera update object. A camera update object can be created by just saying camera update factory dot new lat long, and that lat long is ll. So I pass that, and this update I can give it as a parameter here. So this should take me to this particular location. Let's see if it centers to Africa anymore or centers to green belt. So it's running, it will run the application, and if you see, it centers to green belt, just it's not zoomed in. Now if you want to zoom in to green belt, what I can do is I can change this to, let's say, 15 zoom level. Now it says there is no function like this. I am going to create another function which is similar to this. Go to location, let's call it zoom, and it also has one more integer which is zoom, and I can create new change this camera update object to lat long comma zoom. I can just call it float too, just because it needs float object, and then load that using this. So that means this guy will have to call this object with a float level. Okay, just leave it 15, and then it will call this, and it will zoom to that particular location. Let's see if this runs. So instead of showing the entire Americas, I'll just zoom into just green belt. So there you go. So if you see, I'm zoomed into only green belt location. You can zoom in and zoom out using your zoom parameter, or you can set a different variables inside your map activity to kind of display zoom levels or compasses and bunch of different options that you can add up here. So that's how you create a simple maps using maps location. So this is the first video that I want to do, where you do a basic setup of the maps and display user a particular location, and how to do it. Just a quick video on this. So that's that, and then we'll do a little